Hey, and welcome back to Schindler's Gist. I'm Martha Jean, and later you'll see me chatting with my co-host, Tyler Clouth. This is episode 4, and we recorded this on April 30th, which was 5 days after the shooting at the White House Correspondents Dinner. So we talk about that in the show. Now, I had a lot of stuff going on. I moved from one place to the next, and I haven't published these podcasts in a while. So it is now May 27th, almost a month since we last recorded this, that I'm actually editing this and hopefully uploading it, letting you guys see it. So that means a lot of time has passed. So I just want to remind you of what the facts were about this correspondence dinner. The shooting happened at the Washington Hilton. The suspect is a 31-year-old man from Torrance, California, named Cole Thomas Allen, and he was apprehended at the scene and has been charged in federal court with attempting to assassinate the president. No one was killed, though a Secret Service officer was struck by a round, but their bulletproof vest absorbed it. Something kind of interesting is this was Trump's first correspondence dinner as a sitting president. He attended it twice before as a private citizen in 2011 and 2015, but he skipped all 4 years of his first term and the first dinner of his second term. So one of those times that he attended the correspondence dinner as a private citizen, I believe, was when he was made fun of or teased by Barack Obama. And that's supposed to be one of the reasons, supposedly, why he decided to become president, was some sort of revenge, anger that Barack Obama won. You know, there's a lot of discussion about that. I don't know if that's the case, but I do think it's kind of interesting. Tyler and I also talk about the Charlie Kirk shooting from last September and the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting from 2024. So I'll come back at the end with a little more context about some of the specifics that we got into. So, on with the show.
Are you tired of profitable corporations getting subsidies your small business never could? Are you sick of bailouts for companies that took bad risks with other people's money? Are you tired of picking up the check for billion-dollar companies? Then we're on the same side. When profitable companies get tax breaks and subsidies, somebody wrote that check. You did. Next time a politician brags about bringing in business, ask who's actually paying for it. Demand accountability. It's the one thing we can all get behind. Schindler's Gist is brought to you by the simple idea that government shouldn't pick winners. Paid for by people who are frankly a little tired of this.
Yeah, so how would you do it? So show me an idea that you might have.
So it'd be like welcome back everybody. This I fucked it up already. Welcome back, everybody.
I'm leaving that in when I edit it.
Yep. Welcome back, everybody, to Schindler's Gist. This episode, we are recording on 4/30/2026, and we're going to do a quick recap of our last episode, and we're going to get into today's new topic. I'm guest host Tyler, and we have our host MJ right there.
You're co-host.
Oh yeah, guest. Yep. See, but something like that.
I like that. I'll marinate on it. It's so funny, the things that'll make me feel shy and the things that don't.
Uh-huh. Well, same with me, being like an introverted person and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay, I like that idea. All right, so then let's go over last not week's show, but the last show we did, which was it was me and my friend and guest Nick Tigas, because Tyler was gallivanting at the beach with his family, having fun without us.
Yes, we were. And it was beautiful.
Yeah, I bet. Did you get to see any of the museums I told you about? Or did y'all?
No, we barely left the key. I think we left the key.
Yeah. I
But
don't
we
blame
saw
you.
dolphins and stingrays.
Awesome.
And beautiful sunsets.
I don't know if I've ever seen a stingray in real life except in an aquarium. Like out in the world.
I missed it. Lindsay and Trip saw it.
Aw.
Earlier in the morning. It was swimming up almost on shore,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and she'd never seen one in the ocean there, and she's been going there her whole life.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So yep,
Yeah.
that's what we were doing. That's why there was a big break.
Mm-hmm. And
Now
then
it's
I
back
was
to
moving.
yep. Now we have to all get back to real world,
Mm-hmm.
and our real challenging jobs is doing podcasts.
Very hard talking into a microphone.
Uh-huh.
So
All right. So you
what did
guys
you think
talked
about
about a
it? What were
lot
your
of
thoughts?
stuff. I mean, so like I don't think it's surprising that I didn't agree with a ton.
Okay, I'm curious about where you did because I feel like some of the things I don't remember us having extremely strong opinions about. Well, I mean, I had extremely strong opinions. But yeah, tell me.
Well, so like the whole European leftist thing
Mm-hmm.
is a big no-go in the USA.
Why?
Not a fan, because I think their system is awful.
Why?
Because of they don't have the rights we have for one. There is no constitution in any country like the one that we have. No country in Europe has free speech.
They do have much more limitations on speech, but I would argue that that's being eroded really badly here.
It is being eroded, and it's something that we should fight for, seeing as it is the First Amendment, the first one that our founders thought was the most important.
The association of money with speech is also problematic.
It can be, but speech in general, or and that's in Europe, it's bad. All the Western European countries, I don't want to live under that system. I don't want to live under the system in like Germany where you can post something on the internet that the government thinks is racist and they can arrest you,
Mm-hmm.
which is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like the European leftists. I don't like the massive taxation. I don't think that's the answer to our problems, especially in America. We don't our culture is not that. Where we broke free for a reason, and it was to not be that.
Well, the system that we broke free from was very different from what I think most modern European countries run on. You know, they
But
literally had crazy King George, who was just absolutely batshit. Honestly, more similar. He's been compared to Trump, you know, with all of the self-dealing and abuse of power and the way that the way that people were taxed, you know, without having any say in what happened to them. All kinds of things.
I mean, I can see that, but again, we at least have a constitution where we can take that back if we can get anybody that's not spineless into our Congress.
Anybody, literally fucking
Like,
anybody.
but like,
Goddamn.
but we have the structure there. It's there. Whereas in
Mm-hmm.
like Europe, they don't have the structure there.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, it doesn't really matter. Like they
Mm-hmm.
are they can't argue anything on the First Amendment rights. They can't argue
Mm-hmm.
anything on their freedom of speech because they don't have
Mm-hmm.
it. We can still. So even though things are being eroded, like it can it can be saved.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to with like they would have to amend all of their laws to allow this stuff. And I mean, I don't know if you just saw in the UK, they've banned cigarette smoking for anybody born after 2008 or 2009
Mm-hmm.
forever. Anybody
Wait,
born after that date, you're never allowed to buy a tobacco or nicotine product.
you cannot smoke, period?
No, no smoke, no vape, no dip, anything tobacco,
That's a great
nicotine
way to make people
related.
really want to do it.
Yeah, and it's a great way to create a black market.
Yeah,
I mean, this
that's
experiment's been
lunacy.
run. This experiment has been run. We know
Yeah,
what's going to happen,
it's
but
prohibition.
Yeah, it's a prohibition on, and it's only like half prohibition because everybody up until that day can still legally go into stores and purchase.
That's really, really
And
weird.
I'm not a smoker. I don't use any
I don't,
nicotine
I'm not
products
either. I don't like,
or vape,
I don't like nicotine products at all.
but you're not harming anybody else if you're smoking a cigarette, especially with all the laws that are in place for where you can and can't smoke and all this, like already. And other than vaping, the use of nicotine products has gone way down just
Yeah,
due to public education, because
right.
that's the best way to teach people to not do things that are harmful for them.
And I think the fact that it's easier to get other mind-altering substances too, like weed and other stuff, that probably helps too. There's other ways to self-medicate.
Which, and
Like,
I don't know the marijuana legality in the UK.
I don't
So,
either. I don't think
so
it's 100% legal though all the time because I know, like, based on what I've seen on shows, maybe that's something we can look into and do like a fact check after this.
yeah, I'd be curious. Not sure on that, but I mean, if they're gonna ban cigarettes, I'm sure they'll ban all of that too.
Well, also, if there's been a lot said about how if alcohol had never been discovered and suddenly was discovered now, we would not make it a legal substance to consume because it's so toxic. Well,
Yeah,
probably would not, maybe would not, because we tend to allow, like in the US, things tend to be presumed okay until there's so much evidence that it's not, that they have to do something because they're now liable for killing people.
yeah. Well,
That's
I mean, you can see it in how our laws are written.
mm-hmm.
Marijuana is still federally illegal, even though it's way less harmful of a substance than alcohol.
Now, Trump, I don't know if this went anywhere, but Trump did say he was going to change what kind of scheduled drug it was.
Yeah, I think it just passed.
Okay.
It just like finally went through.
Okay.
But it's still it's weak. It's you didn't legalize it. You just like you change the schedule, which is helpful, but that's mostly just for banking reasons.
Yeah, and also the marijuana, I figured this would be the case. Like, it's on some cannabis classifications and not others, so there's confusion about it. So whatever,
Well, yeah. So they
we'll
also
figure it
in
out.
the when they passed that shit in November, they also got rid of the Farm Bill loophole that allowed all of the different different structures of marijuana. So your Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, THC 0, THC A. So all these other
Mhm.
ways you can grow it where it's like a little bit different. So and
Yeah, yeah.
where you derive it from hemp instead of the regular,
Mm-hmm.
intoxicating marijuana plant. So they got rid of that, which
Mm-hmm.
means like in every city, you are going to shut down tons of local businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
I've
I
seen,
don't know who we're helping, but we're not helping small business owners. We're not helping people that want an alternative to opiates
yeah.
for pain relief or I mean, people with cancer. Like
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin has no legal medicinal nothing.
Mm.
We're surrounded by all the other states that are legal,
Yeah.
medicinal and recreational, and Wisconsin refuses. So we're not given any option
Yeah.
to to do anything else than pharmaceuticals then at that point.
Yeah.
And I think I would rather have somebody smoking a little pot than taking opiates.
Yeah, definitely.
I
And
think it's a little better.
yeah, and I mean the science shows that evidence, like you can see watching people do those drugs if you know anybody who ever has done anything like those in your life, like they're not as bad as a lot of other options. Even if
Exactly.
you absolutely believe that, all drugs are bad, chocolate milk only. That's a shout out to I think Mormons. They have chocolate milk days at is it Brigham Young or something like that? Where they drink a lot of chocolate milk.
I'm not sure. But I
Um,
think so. I think this whole European leftist thing kind of goes in this direction because once you have like a Like in a lot of European countries, your government run healthcare. What we want in America, what people want in America, that Medicare for all. The problem is the government gets to then deem like this is bad for you, so we are banning it.
Hmm.
And I think that's exactly I mean they said like they don't want to pay the costs of the healthcare issues from smoking.
Well, this is where I think I align. This is why I sometimes have trouble putting myself into a true box, politically speaking, because when it comes to drugs and stuff, I think it makes the most sense to make everything legal, like everything legal. And then, but for me to feel good about that, we would have like some services where you, if you, or maybe not even services, some places where you can go to do the drug safely so that you're not hurting people while you're doing them, which is similar to having a bar where you can go and drink and you can get drunk at the bar, but it is illegal to drive your car home, you know?
Yeah,
Um, so
I
you
think
can,
it's already illegal to drive your car in any
right,
drug. So
right.
yeah, like the infrastructure is there.
Yeah,
People should be allowed to do what they want to do as long as you're not harming anybody else.
yeah. And like, all the other issues that surround drugs, a lot of it has to do with the very fact that it is illegal, and not just illegal, but it makes you a social pariah a lot of times by doing them. And so then it creates an underclass of activities, like you said about if you outlaw something, there will be a black market, and black markets are not going to abide by the same consumer safety rules that we expect, or whatever. Like you might get your kneecaps beat in when you don't pay versus sending it off to a collections department because they
Yeah,
can't do that. They can't. There are all these like kind of safety nets that we have for standard markets, which I like. I like the ability for there to be some sort of accountability, even though a lot of times the accountabilities can be abused too. But if done correctly, I think they can help people not screw up. But if doing heroin was legal, if you knew that if you would like to do heroin, there's a place you can go to do it, and maybe they'll monitor your vitals. Maybe you pay more to have your vitals monitored so that if anything happens to you while you're doing it, you they'll give you Narcan or something. I don't know. Like it's just, to me that makes more sense than saying no, 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 you can't do it. So then you're doing these things at home, um, or on the streets if you're somebody without any resources, with you know questionable needles. It all gets bad after that. But if you can
yeah,
have some place where it's nice and clean, that eliminates a lot of the problems that the actual drug causes.
yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you 100% on that. Like I said, you could even like for even for heroin, like if you went to the store and could buy it and it was regulated under some at least minimal like safety standard, you know that you're getting something safe. It's not laced with fentanyl.
Yes, yes.
And
And
if
that's a
you
big deal
use it,
too.
you know how to use it safely. So you can get it and go do it at home.
Yeah.
Like, and most likely you're gonna be fine. I'm not saying that people should be going out and doing heroin,
Should all be
but
doing heroin. That's
not
the
not
lesson.
necessarily a great choice, but
Yeah.
it's people's choice as long as you're not harming anybody.
Right.
And that's like that like it's not I'm not your dad. I don't get to tell you what you can and can't do. Like and as long as you don't harm anybody else.
Yeah,
Like
because there
and
are a ton of drugs that are like that we can do that a lot of people wouldn't choose to do because they look at the cost benefits and they say, I don't want to do that. Like, um, peptides. Peptides are the new hotness,
yep,
in the market. And they say a lot of the reason for that is people have gotten used, because of the GLP-1s, they've gotten used to shooting themselves with needles when ordinarily that would feel creepy. And so now
yep,
there's a whole market. You order it's not FDA approved, but you can sell it, you can buy it, you can, and some people are going to want to do that and want to use them, and some people are going to not.
Yeah.
And okay, fine, we can do that. But I think a big problem is the government tends to use regulation as a way to make money, as a way to protect industries. Um, when I think if you are going to do it, it truly should be because you look at this and you're like, this is going to be better for everyone in society, period. And this is why we're doing it, not, oh, it would make lot more money for kind of like in areas where you have blue blue law counties where they're dry counties. A lot of times
Hmm.
there's, for example, in Arkansas, there was a giant liquor store right on the border of the county line. And everyone knew that kids from the nearby college in Conway, Arkansas, would drive over late at night after having been drinking, get more booze, drive back. There were a ton of accidents, DUIs and stuff all on this road. And one of the biggest proponents of keeping the county dry were the people who had stakes in that liquor store. Because if you could buy alcohol freely throughout that county, they wouldn't have the chokehold on the market there that they had, you know. So yeah, I can see that you wouldn't have liked that. And then you probably wouldn't have liked the thing that I said about the thing that we both talked about, the paradox of tolerance. That's
Yes. Yes. I
very
don't.
anti-libertarian.
Yeah, I don't agree with it at all.
So what do we do? But history has shown that it seems to be correct if you allow, supposedly part of the reason why we're having a resurgence in more open neo-Nazism is because it's allowed. It's allowed to propagate those ideas.
I
I,
see,
you
I
know,
disagree. I
okay.
disagree with the with where you end on that. So like, it's not because the ideas are allowed to be propagated, which again is the First Amendment isn't there to protect speech we all love. That's easy. Nobody needs
Yeah.
nobody needs nobody needs protection to say a thing that everybody agrees with.
Yeah.
You need protection to be able to say things that people disagree with, to not be
Hmm.
silenced, whether or not it's horrible or if it's just like because that's how you start banning speech and making people be quiet and canceling things is like, well, like they're saying something mean, they're saying something hateful, so we can't allow it, even though we believe in free speech, but we can't allow this speech because it's bad. Well, if you allow a government to do that, then it quickly becomes like, well, like you're really talking bad about the government, and that's not cool because you could get people to not be for the government.
And we're seeing
So
that now, like with Trump's 86-47 temper tantrum. There was a case a long time ago, I think it was against LBJ, where they decided that even something that seemed like a much more flagrant call for violence against the president, this was a Supreme Court case. It was ruled that this was free speech and wasn't inciting violence. It was saying, I think it was something like they said they wanted to punch the president or something like that. I'll have to look it up. Um, but
so which I think is interesting because I mean James Comey should be allowed to say that as free speech. But like let's also like not like I just read an article today that was just such a fucking gaslight on what it meant. Like we all know
mhm,
what 8640 is. We know what you meant when you said that. And
yeah,
they were trying to use like people in the service industry, which I have worked in, trying to defend like that's not what 86 means. That just means we don't have an item anymore. It's like, yeah, when you say to 86 something, you mean to kill it. Kill it off the menu. It's done. Like everybody knows what 86ing something is.
it's
Like
getting rid of, or it's not necessarily killing.
it's also used in that way. Like you can go to tons of rap songs where it's used that way. It's yeah to okay even to give it the best to get rid of. but
Yeah.
like there's the connotation 86, and I think that's even like police talk. Like 86 is like murder.
I've never heard that.
We could fact. I mean, I'm not saying that, no, but I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong, but like we know what it meant. I don't think there's any reason to prosecute over it. That's silly. But like, let's not be like, oh yeah, it's just I meant I don't like Trump. Like it meant a little more. Like, well, let's not gaslight on both ends of it. I guess is the
I
way I
I
look at
I
it.
just don't think you. I don't. I have never heard it used. I believe you about the rap music because I don't listen to rap music, but I've never heard it used to mean for sure killing somebody. But you know, dump Trump is stuff I've said. That doesn't mean like I've made a sign for that and had it in front of my house. That doesn't mean that I want him to be dumped in a river with concrete blocks on his feet. You know what I mean? Like it. I wouldn't cry if that necessarily happened, but it wouldn't be, I'm not. It's not like a call to violence. Um, and I have FDT. I have FDT on my car right now. I have a bumper sticker that was given to me by a Republican. This Republican came up to us at one of our protests and gave us all FDT stickers. He was like, "I'm a Republican, but I hate Trump." So, and I put it on my car. And it means fuck Donald Trump and, go fuck yourself. Sometimes I think people really mean go. Shut up, Google. Sorry, Google's yelling at me. Can you hear Google yelling at me?
I could hear Google yelling at you.
Um,
But yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it's a violation. I don't think they should, I don't think they should be prosecuted for it. That's silly. It's a waste of time. Like we understand, yeah, his feelings on him, but like let's also not like pretend like it didn't mean like whatever. Like it's just. I think it's silly to like be like, oh yeah, it didn't really mean anything. Like that's like the art. I read
well,
this
yes, it
article.
definitely meant something. He hates Donald Trump.
Yeah, and they're, I think it was a NBC or CBS article, and it was just like it was a bunch. They interviewed a handful of people that work in the service industry. Like that's not what it doesn't mean anything. Like, I mean, it means like it's gone, get rid of, take it
Yeah.
off the menu. Like it's very clear. Like the 86 something is to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and especially in today's political climate, like like he was making a statement
Yeah,
at the
definitely. He
bare
was definitely
minimum.
making a statement.
And again, totally fine with it. I think it's totally protected under free speech. But like also like let's not pretend like, yeah, just some random numbers he said. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
No, it's definitely not that.
Let's not be silly on the other side of it
No,
too.
no.
Like that's where I
Now, I haven't heard
because
anything that was
also
just flagrantly denying that it meant anything
it's just,
negative.
it's like it's obviously a negative.
Yeah.
Like it's not a positive.
Yeah.
It
And I
wasn't
mean, during
hearts and
Biden's,
rainbows to Donald.
yeah, yeah, no, it's not. It's not a bunch of smiley faces, hearts, and rainbows. But during Biden's administration, you saw 86-45, and I definitely didn't take that as a death threat.
I
I
never
took it
even
as,
saw that.
huh?
I never
You
even
didn't see
saw
it?
that. Nope.
It wasn't
I
as
saw the whole
common as
the
Let's
fuck
Go Brandon.
Brandon thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
let's
wasn't
go
as common
Brandon.
as
Yeah,
Let's Go Brandon.
yeah, that's what it is. Let's go Brandon. Which is I just think funny.
It's not unfunny, but
Because you have to. I don't know.
I just think it's really stupid. Like it was
Yes,
so stupid for him to say.
that's
But I bet
that's
he
why it's
heard
funny.
that. I bet he
That's why
actually
it's
heard
funny.
that. Like,
It's so dumb. That's why it's funny.
why do you have to be in denial that it's that's what they're saying? Um, so
So yeah,
was there
so yeah,
anything
on
else that
your
stood out to you, or do you want to elaborate there? Did we sideline you? Oops, sorry, I just slammed my keyboard on the ground.
no. Yeah, no, I think I made my point on that. You guys talk about the social contract a bunch. I don't really believe in the idea of the social contract. I think that's I don't know. I think you're waving a flag and something that you can't really justify.
Well, I think in his interpretation and Nick's interpretation, that is part and parcel of the tolerance. Um, that if you're around somebody who is intolerant, they're violating. It's like they're violating a rule of engagement, a subconscious rule of engagement. So once that happens, you no longer have to tolerate them. So that's the social contract he's talking about.
Yeah.
Obviously, like it doesn't mean anything legally or, it's just an agreed upon thing. But I can definitely see that. Like I wouldn't want, just as an example, you have a bunch of people over at your house, and one of the people um, that you've invited over starts picking on someone who's there for being black, or let's say they're not even there. They You could say, well, I should be, as a tolerant person, I should allow them to do that, in society. But they just violated your rules of tolerance by behaving in a way that is offensive to you and others. So then you are within your rights. You're not violating any social norm to ask them to leave.
Yeah,
And a
so I
lot of,
think all this gets ironed out through private property, and you don't need to push a social contract on any
well,
person.
I think what we were talking about social contract, you shouldn't think of it as like a legal framework in any
Oh
way.
no,
It's
I know, but I guess so. The social contract, I think, falls apart when you start to think about it past like right where you live. So like it's a social contract of these morals and ideals apply to the state you live in, the country, the USA, to the Western world, or to the Asian world, or to all of the world, because
Mhm.
people born in North Korea abide by a whole different social contract.
Yes, yes. These are
So
like
like so,
you
but
have
the social
different social
contract is
norms.
always used as like the social contract is you pay property taxes for schools and you have to. That's the social contract. It's like, well, I didn't sign the contract. I was born into it. So like, is it only for your area and your culture? Or is like if I think it just falls apart. It's not a great argument because it falls apart as soon as you move outside of the realm of like Western thinking.
I think that's okay because social norms are going to vary from one place to another. But if the idea behind tolerance of others' behaviors being part of a social contract means that up to a certain point, up to a certain limit, and yes, it would vary depending on the culture you're in, um, there's an expectation that you're going to tolerate certain things from people. Like if a guy burps in public, okay, like I was in a doctor's office the other day, and a whole bunch of people were all playing video games and YouTube videos, and one guy was watching Dragon Ball Z, all on their phone, all without headphones. Drives me batshit.
Oh yeah,
But
oh, that drives me insane.
yes, and
I know
and
exactly what you're talking about.
it's well, I could have asked them to stop, but that is not, as them doing that is more, it's not a violation of, they're acting in a way that affects me, yes, but
Yeah.
it isn't doing something that is an attempt to limit me
No, they're
or
they're being rude. They're being
who
rude
I care
people.
about. Yeah, yeah. But when it comes to people who are intolerant, pushing intolerance on others, that affects you more, even if it doesn't seem like it. Somebody who comes in there and has a um, I hate Jews shirt or I hate black people shirt, to me that's crossing a line. That is then advocating for something that I think is not something that we should allow to go on without some sort of repercussion. And I'm not even saying that I don't even really think there necessarily need to be laws against things like that.
Yeah,
I
not a
think there's
legal
a lot
repercussion.
of
A
social
social, yeah.
repercussions. There should be and we are absolute wimps when it comes to social repercussions. Um, I'm continually shocked at what we tolerate other people to do that does end up affecting us. And I think that ideas like spreading ideas of hate to me should be socially unacceptable in a way that it doesn't seem to be. Spreading ideas of hate and spreading tolerance of others suffering, tolerance and encouragement of others suffering, like warmongering, to me should be unacceptable. And encouraging, I'll make jokes about violence against people, but really I don't think violence has a place. So I think stuff like that should be you should worry about getting called an asshole out in public more when it comes to things like that.
Uh-huh. Well, and I think, people, I mean, that is how you deal with it. You
But
deal
that
with
that's
bad
what I think the
speech
social
with better
contract
speech.
is. It's like it's probably a bad word term for what we use, but it meant
Yeah, because it blankets too much stuff. Like that's the thing. And it's always used to defend things like
I don't
excessive
think we intended
taxation.
it to be universal. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I'm just,
Yeah.
it's just one of the notes I made.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good note. It's a good note because it matters what words you use.
Yeah. And then the last note I have from there, which I'm not exactly sure where it came from. I think you guys were talking about fascism. And again, I think you and I have talked about this, but the metaphor, or maybe not metaphor, analogy, whichever one it is, the way I describe fascism is it's a branch on the tree of collectivism.
Hmm.
Like fascism and communism they're not enemies. They're trying to operate in the same space, just a little bit different.
Yeah. That's one
And
reason why I don't love libertarians getting lumped in with the right.
because we're
And
not a true libertarian.
yeah, I don't think they are. Now I did listen to, I'll get to this later. I did listen to a good podcast that talked about how libertarians were co-opted by the far right. But that happens on all sides. Everybody gets co-opted and like pulled into stuff for certain reasons. Um, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, so like that's like the kind of thing. Like, so when you're pushing for socialist things, like you're pushing for state control of production. And let's not forget, like, especially because everybody likes to bring Nazis up. I think Nazi is brought up way too much. It's not like Nazi is a thing from its era. I don't think it's a thing now. I think we need a new word. Nazis
What
lost
about the
all of
people
its
who call themselves
meaning.
It's
Yeah, it's because they're idiots. They're like it's lost its meaning as a word. It doesn't hit like okay cool yeah because you just call blanket everybody's a Nazi. You don't support what Israel's doing. You're a Nazi. Like okay like it's lost all of its meaning. So to blanket that term over everything, I think is useless at this point. But and I'm saying with socialism, like we do have to but to go back to that, like you do have to remember the Nazi Party was the German workers' party. It was a socialist party.
They called themselves that, but functionally they didn't have much aside from what you say about fascism being a collectivist thing. They didn't have much in common with actual
No, they all
socialist
the things.
movements. So,
State control of production. Like that's what socialism is. The state controls production and then distributes out.
but
That's
they had private enterprise.
they have private enterprise that's controlled by the state. Same as how like China does it now. They have private enterprise, but it's controlled by the state. That's the biggest thing. They're not private because they're not at the end of the day they're not private because they answer to the government. Volkswagen wasn't a privately owned company. Volkswagen is the people's car made by government production. Like,
I want to
but
look this up.
you go down that slip, like when you give the state power over everything, like that's like, I mean, just kind of like anything else. Like you can have like a good king or a bad king. Like it depends who's running, who's captaining the ship. But that kind of control over production is control over the people. And that's what socialism is. Socialism is state control over everything.
So what I have read, and I just pulled up something, admittedly using an LLM, which is questionable, but this
Yes.
is
Which
very
is good you state that, but it can get us a starting point.
similar to what I have read before, was that the socialist label was a recruitment tool. That's what I'd heard before, was that it was always a little bit kind of like how MAGA says they're the party of family values, and yet they do a lot of things that do not seem to be that functionally, but it's a great motto. So the so this does say that they were deeply intertwined with private German industry. Um, I didn't know that Thyssen and Krupp were separate companies, but apparently they were. And I also didn't know that Thyssen and Krupp both funded the party. I didn't know that. Oh, and they profited from slave labor. Great. Um, and then it says the Nazis did privatize several state-owned enterprises in the 1930s. So what this says is that by the modern labels, basically modern terms don't really match what they did now. Like, so contemporary socialists and communists had no doubt that Nazism was their enemy, not their cousin. Let's see.
That's just incorrect. That
I
is just
I
blatantly incorrect.
I
It's
would love to
blatantly
see
incorrect.
where you're finding that, because everything that I have read has said that they really did not think that socialists and communists, um, which I think technically were different, at least when it came to the Spanish Civil War, which is very confusing to me, but I think that was maybe two separate groups. Maybe I'm wrong. I have to look it up. But
The
because
word was
communists,
interchangeable back then. That's the
because
thing. The
huh?
word communist and socialist was almost interchangeable back then.
Yes, but I think
The
they were
difference
also,
is the biggest difference is the ideal of communism, like the Bolshevik Revolution,
yeah.
was that they believed in a worldwide socialism of
Hmm.
basically one state of socialism. So that's what communism is, as compared to socialism is inside of your state.
Well, okay, so they were in the, I'm probably just getting confused by the Spanish Civil War. There were Republicans, nationalists, and then there were also there was socialists and communists, anarchists, Marxists, that's what I was thinking of. Regional separatists, like in the Spanish Civil War, that's part of what I was thinking of. And that
Uh-huh.
would have been around the time that they were talking about communists and socialists during the time. So I guess they just were like special brands of whatever.
Yeah,
And
it's all on the same tree of
but
collectivism.
but
Like
some of the
it's
first
all
people,
collectivist.
yeah, but some of the first people sent to concentration camps were communists and unionists.
Well, yeah, anybody that went around against the state, and the state doesn't have to support a union. The state controls production.
So you're just saying that you still feel like they were a type of communism who didn't like communists that weren't
Well,
in their fold.
they were a social. The Nazi Party is a socialist party.
So
Like
this is also
because
saying,
socialism doesn't also like how we are saying democracy doesn't
mhm,
necessarily mean good or bad. It's
mhm.
what you do with
Yeah,
it.
I understand. I
So
understand that.
like socialism too, like just because there's a pipe dream of utopia under socialism, but then there's also a realism
Well,
of
there's also a
socialism.
pipe dream of utopia under fascism, if
Well,
that's
yeah,
the thing.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that fascism is a socialist ideology. Like it comes
Mhm.
out of because you have to have that government control over everything.
So this says don't step on my keyboard, cat. Okay. This says the regime did exercise significant direction over the economy, setting production priorities, controlling foreign exchange, mandating rearmament contracts, and suppressing free labor markets by abolishing unions and banning strikes. So it wasn't a free market, but
Yeah, socialism doesn't operate in a free market, so that would be correct.
but it says direction is different from ownership or socialism. So directing is different from ownership. So they're saying that they mandated things but did not own things. The capitalists kept their profits and property. They just had to align their output with state priorities.
Yeah, that's socialism.
This is closer. This says this is closer to what scholars call authoritarian capitalism or a war economy than socialism. But I mean, today we have the same thing. Capitalists keep their profits and properties, but there is sometimes direction over the economy. And we
Yeah,
would
and
call that
I
capitalism.
feel like we operate under too much socialism.
When? How?
When the government steps in like that. So like especially in when you're talking about Germany at that point, and same as like China now. Like, yeah, you're free to do what you want as long as what you want to do is the thing I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that's not private ownership. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're free to make this product, and you can and you're free to make 100 of them. But if you try to make a different product and a different number, we're shutting you down. So that's government control over production. You actually don't have a private control of production then. You make it look like you have a private control of production, but you don't because the government will just shut you down if you don't do what you're told. So that is the state running production.
But they don't own it. That's different. That means that
But
if you behave
okay.
yourself, you can own it.
Do you own your house after you pay your mortgage? Or can the state take it away as soon as you don't pay property taxes?
Uh, you don't own it until you've paid it all off in my book.
No, you never own it. Because if you don't pay your property taxes, the state
Oh,
can
they can
take the
take it.
property. So you don't actually ever own your home. You must pay
Well,
rent to the government.
if
Oh,
we took what you have to say, and to me that's almost the same as saying like you can't own anything because when you die, you can't take it with you.
that's different because you're dead. You're not alive and living. But so if I own a business, say I own my leather business, and the government says you can make 100 leather bags a month, and I'm like, well, I want to make wallets, and they say
Mhm.
no, you can't, and then they shut me down for making wallets instead of bags. Do I own my company? No. Even though they said you own it, you don't own it if they can shut you down for not doing what they want you
Okay,
to do.
okay. I see where you're coming from. I would say you still own it, but you just don't have as much control over it as you would like. And for you, the control is an inherent part and parcel of the ownership.
Yes, 100%.
Got
If the government can shut you down because you're not doing what they want, then the government owns the production.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, that's where I'm getting at with like what socialism actually means.
Well, okay. So what if I don't like the 7-Eleven down the street. There isn't actually a 7-Eleven down the street. But let's pretend I don't like the 7-Eleven down the street. And because I don't like it, I shut them down. Does that mean I own it? Like I go there with rocks and I take it over and I say this is my 7-Eleven.
Then you just did an act of aggression upon private property, and you will most likely be prosecuted for it.
So, but if I did the same thing and I were government, then it's socialism.
Yes,
Okay. I'm not
because
laughing at you. It's just
no,
it's just
which is why I don't support government having that kind of power because we allow the government to commit
because it's
crimes.
government, it's different. It's a different category than an
No,
individual person
yeah.
of their own
So
volition.
yeah, so we allow the government to commit crimes that we would prosecute individuals for doing the exact same thing.
Yes, we do we do that a whole hell of a
Yes.
lot. But
So
we do the same. We
that's the
do the
difference. Hi, buddy. But that's the difference.
Yeah.
Like the government gets away with doing it and aren't held accountable. But if you as an individual do it, it wouldn't be okay. Where like
Well,
everybody sees clearly like that's not okay to do.
the same can be said of corporations, like or private businesses once they get a certain amount of power. Like I was reading the other day, I had forgotten about this or didn't notice it. It was during a period of time where I was actively trying to avoid the news. But did you remember this four divers were died in a diving accident, I think somewhere in the Caribbean, and they were doing some kind of underwater repairs or something of a pipeline, and it would have cost too much money to save them. So they were just like left to die because they did the numbers, and the company decided that it was cheaper to pay out to the families, whatever the families would ask, than it would be to actually do what needed to be done to save these people. So it took them 4 days to die. Um, just absolutely crazy. And it's bonkers that companies can do stuff like that and get away with it. Now, this company was not in the United States. It was based out of Trinidad, maybe. And but stuff like that happens all the time, like
I mean,
United
I guess
Healthcare.
yeah,
you know,
but I guess like in that scenario, I would say the divers understood the risk. Like you have to understand the risk of something you're doing. Like if I get in a race car and I cartwheel the fucker and die, is that, Ferrari's fault because their race car didn't hold up to me cartwheeling the thing at 250 miles an hour? Like
I,
at some point you know what you're doing and there needs to be a personal accountability in that.
I would bet they did not think that if things went sideways, that the company would allow them to die a slow, horrible death over 4 days.
See, I mean, that might be something to look at. Like especially if it was in the U.S., like you would have signed a whole bunch of waivers that would have said, like, there's a chance if something happens, we're not going to come save you. You
So,
sign those waivers, you go to a trampoline park, like you might break your neck and die. That's on you.
well, do
So, like,
you
that's your personal accountability, right? That's what contract law is for.
do you thoroughly read like every single term that you sign,
No,
like
but
online?
I am aware of risks that I'm taking, and I feel and I am accountable for them.
I don't know. I feel like there are things that they could do with your, like, let's say your personal data, that you may have some kind of assumption that something is not going to happen because you're like, that's just beyond the pale. That's just not going to happen. Like, I would be shocked. I worked for Home Depot, a while back, and I would be shocked if I were working in the store and my hand got caught in the paint can thingy, and like I'm like, turn off the machine or else I'm gonna lose my hand, that they were like, well, you know what, we'll lose money by turning off the machine, so sorry, you have to lose your hand. I would be shocked if that was the decision. And maybe at some point when I signed um some kind of paperwork saying, yeah, Home Depot can do that, but I don't know if I could say that that was like presumed that that's what would happen. But my point is that the companies can do stuff like this, but if somebody was stuck in a pipe in my house, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to just say, hey, it would cost me too much money to get you out of there. I can't call the ambulance. I can't have them tear down this wall in my house to get you out. That would cost me too much money.
I mean, I
Um,
guess it would depend on how they got there.
so let's pretend he was fixing something for me and he had to get in the wall and then he got stuck. Like, and I was just like, nah, just you got to die. Like I wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, but a company can.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like your first example though was like a extreme case of something out in the ocean. Like, like something that is actually way more challenge. I mean, there are there are times where like search parties have to give up because they can't like
Yeah,
the weather's too bad and we can't risk the lives of other people to find these people. And those
yeah,
sometimes those people die awful
yes,
death.
yes.
Like
And
and
yeah, and I
like
think most underwater construction work, repair work is inherently dangerous too. Like it's one of the most dangerous forms of diving.
which
But
is
I
why
think
it pays a ton of money. There's a cost benefit to it.
well, I think the difference is like with your example of these search parties and like sometimes when like we can't get them out without risk of life, that's different from cost. And maybe I was reading propaganda, but what it looked like when I was reading about it was that it was based on this would cost too much money, not a it would risk too many lives. And money is a made up concept. So
Which is,
people are
I
real.
disagree heavily with you on that. Money is not a made up concept. Money is a very real thing. Our American dollar at this point is a made up concept, but money is not.
You're saying money, big picture?
Yeah, what money is, a currency for transactions, is not a made up concept. It is a way to trade goods at a far easier rate than me trading you shoes for a chair.
Yes, it is. I still think it's somewhat imaginary. And we just agree that it exists. We just
No,
decide that it
but
exists.
that's the American dollar post like 1972. That's where you're right. And right now we agree that this money exists and it's fake. It's fiat currency is fake. Gold backed money is not fake. It is a real currency that holds value. Like so that's where the big difference is. Like yes, right now our dollar is fake and is based off of hopes and dreams, which is why our economy is a fucking disaster. But before we got off the gold standard, money was real. And that's one of the that's way we need to fix the country is to fix the money.
I'm gonna have to think about that because several years ago I said the same thing, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't love Bitcoin, something along those lines. And then somebody was talking to me about it, and basically they persuaded me that all money is an imaginary concept. It is real in that the something in place of the exchange for the actual goods and services. Like I don't have to give you 70 chickens to get a house, because that's
Yeah.
like you said, it's easier. But just that all of it is a construct that we just agree on that this X is worth Y, Y is worth X.
So
Two Y's are equal to three X's.
this is why we use gold and silver, especially gold,
This is
because of
why libertarians like to use gold and silver.
well, this is why up until recent history, all civilizations used gold
Yes.
as currency.
Yes, because it was actually something that you could
It's scarce,
hmm
which you need scarcity for it to have value. It can break down. Its scarcity can break down into coin-sized things that are worthwhile. You can carry and exchange and have a value tied to it. Yeah, it costs labor to extract it from the earth. And then
hmm
with gold, especially, gold has very special characteristics. As we've gotten into the future, gold is used in electronics because of this exact
Yeah.
reason of its very special characteristics of it doesn't corrode, it doesn't break
hmm
down. It's not like iron where it rusts and goes back to the earth.
And I think it's highly conductive too.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why it's used in electronics. Like,
yeah.
so it's highly conductive and it doesn't break down. It doesn't
hmm
corrode. Like, it has all these very specific properties that makes it. And I mean, they even in Rome, they used gold and silver and all that. And they started, towards the end of the empire, they started causing massive inflation because they started mixing other metals into their coins
hmm
and people knew that. So
Yeah.
now you're devaluing the currency because now it's not gold. It's it's mixed with copper and nickel and all this other
Hmm.
stuff, and now it's not as valuable. So like there is a really solid theory behind why it works and why it holds up as the currency, as opposed to like seashells. Like like
Yes.
anybody can go pick up seashells. There's no scarcity, so they're not worth anything.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go get your own gold, it's going to take some work. Like
Hmm.
you got to mine it. Like you got to take it out of the ore. Like it's so like. With that being said, you are totally correct. Like currently, money is a joke. It's fake.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
fiat currency is a complete scam. Our government can just print it, which is why our dollars are losing value every day because they can print it without having to back it with anything.
I had this thought because, I really don't like Donald Trump. I don't know if I've established that, but I really don't. And
Yeah, I think you
like,
might have hit on a point a time or two.
but I had this thought that like if his face, they're making coins with his face on it, this might actually be a case of like a weird currency manipulation because for some people they won't want that money. Like if they feel strongly enough about it, they'll want a different dollar that
Uh-huh.
doesn't
Yeah,
have his
I mean, and
face
that
on it.
that gets into like your supply and demand.
Yeah, yeah. And then for some people they want those dollars because they really love him. And so
Yeah.
then it's worth more.
Yeah.
So then
Or
it's not
you
just a
want
dollar, it's a
a sweet pair
special.
of those golden Trump shoes.
Yeah. Do they make those? Do they make golden Trump
They
shoes?
did make them. Yeah, any grift that he could have did, he did. Come
Man, I
on.
should have gotten in on some MAGA grifts.
I'm kind of like, the gold Trump shoes would be fun to have
I mean,
because
gold shoes. I had gold shoes that I got for a costume, and are very fun. I'm only getting rid of them because the lights don't light up. They had little lights on the bottom, and I love that. And then one of the shoes broke because they're cheap
yeah,
pieces of crap. Um, but
but just like the Trump shoes.
yeah, well, they weren't Trump shoes, and
No, but they're both two pieces of crap.
they were just gold gold shoes. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's $20 gold shoes are probably not the highest level of uh quality. So
No.
um
So, all right. I mean, I think that's all I had for the last episode refresh catch up. So, do we want to move into the current topic of today's episode?
Are you uncomfortable with the government reading your messages without a warrant? Are you tired of local police departments armed like occupying armies? Are you sick of being monitored, tracked, and recorded just for living your life? Then we're on the same side. The Fourth Amendment wasn't written for a specific kind of person. It was written for everyone. Flock cameras record your license plate every time you leave your neighborhood. The government knows where you went, when you left, and when you came back. No warrant, no suspicion, no limit. So next time a politician calls it public safety, ask who exactly is being kept safe from what. Demand your rights. Demand accountability. It's the one thing we can all get behind. Schindler's Gist is brought to you by the simple idea that the government should have to earn the right to watch you. Paid for by people who are, frankly, a little tired of this.
so for current events, what current event let's do it this way. Pick one current event that you think is most interesting for whatever reason. It can be anything. It can be about cats, it can be about politics, it can be about your state only, your town, whatever.
Gotcha. Well, I have one on top of mind because I've been watching it close. So I mean, obviously this one's a big one, but there was that whole correspondence dinner shooting
Yeah, what do you think about that?
fiasco. I mean, God, at best case scenario was a complete failure of our government to do anything.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, like the documented lack of security is atrocious.
it's lunacy.
Especially when you have like what 80% of the descending like line of like control, like of where you hand down the presidency. Like if one person dies, like they're all there.
Yeah, yeah,
What was it
yeah.
like the only person that wasn't there if they would have pulled it off was like an 80-year-old congressman or something. Like just like it, like how was there not security? There's no way that guy should have gotten even close to being able to sprint into there.
No, it's crazy.
Like so, I'm not jumping on any conspiracy trains or anything, but like at minimum, like just how awful. I mean, it is the same as like the whole Butler shooting. What
Yeah,
what you think about it, conspiracy, real, don't really even care. But like, just if you go by statements made by our government, where the Secret Service was like, that roof was too angled for us to be on. It's like, well, apparently not for that guy.
yeah, yeah.
Like the incompetence, which believe me, I have full faith in our government being completely incompetent. So I wouldn't rule that out. But to bring this local, and I gladly call this out for everybody here, for all of our seven maybe listeners, is Minocqua Brewing Company here in Wisconsin is run by this insane lefty guy that basically has a celebration in holding, and he's very open about it. It's called Free Beer Day, and it's the day that Donald Trump dies, and he is pro assassination. He made it very clear he supports him being assassinated on social media. You can go on
Yeesh.
Facebook, look up Minocqua Brewing Company. They defend it to the end. Read the comment section. It is disgusting. Any person that is pro somebody being murdered, I don't care how much you dislike them,
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
that's not cool. That's
And
not cool.
they have, I mean, they sell shirts, free beer day, all this, and it's all in support of Donald Trump dying, and that day free beer for everybody that comes to the brewery.
Yeah,
And again, very pro assassination, which is just stoking the fire of political violence.
yeah, yeah. It's
And
not
we
like
shouldn't want any of
Donald.
that.
Don't get me wrong. When I said I wouldn't cry if he died, that's all I mean. I wouldn't cry if he died, but
Yeah,
it would be
you don't have to
really
be
terrible,
sad,
really
but
terrible if he got assassinated. Like that's not an okay thing for a functioning society.
yeah, and then what does that mean for the future?
Yeah,
Like what? Like this is like you're not like you obviously don't care about much. I don't want my child growing up in a world where like we openly want to assassinate the other party constantly,
no, no.
and that kind of rhetoric leads to that, and it's disgusting. And just I went through comments on all these posts, and like to know that these are,
Good for
these
you.
are people, that are my neighbor, could be my neighbors that
Yeah,
are just cheering it on, and
it's
they support
disgusting.
this business. And I'm like, and you know, I'm a pretty staunch freedom of speech absolutist, and I love that he can say that. And I really hope the public stops going to his brewery.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope I hope his business ends. Like for like your definition of the social contract, like that's like you should be shamed out of existence. Your business
Yeah,
should crumble because of how disgusting you decide to act
yeah.
and the things that you decide
That's
to
not an
promote.
okay way to be. I don't think. Those are the kinds of things you say in private among your family and friends when you're particularly angry. Like, they're not the kinds of things you actually call for in the public square.
Yes.
Um, mm,
So I was personally disgusted by, a small business here in our state to just be that hard line on the
and does
side,
he have a lot of business?
Yeah. Yeah, we got enough insane people that love it so much.
Man.
And I mean, and I said, you can go look it up. Go look up Minocqua Brewing. They all these posts are on their Facebook page. It's national news.
Oh yeah, I believe you.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Fox was writing, Newsweek was writing about it, like all the big outlets. Like it got picked up, and yeah, like this guy. I mean, this guy's been criminally charged with stuff. I believe he ran for Congress. I also believe I could be wrong. These are things I've read that I haven't totally vetted, but the current Democratic backed candidate for Congress to unseat Derek Van Orden in our district. I
Mhm.
believe he worked on his campaign, but I'm also
Yikes, man. I
not a,
would
I
I would
mean,
be so mad if I were a, remotely functioning politician and somebody on my campaign did that. I'd be really upset because
yeah.
I don't think that's, I mean, I'm sure like people came out of the woodwork agreeing with him, but I really don't think that's a mainstream viewpoint that it's okay to say stuff like that.
No, and she hasn't agreed with it, and she hasn't made any statements. But from what I understand, they kind of scrubbed some stuff away to make it
Hmm.
not look like she was. And I mean, by kind of like, I don't think she doesn't hold any accountability for this because working for somebody else's campaign is totally
Right.
different than you
Yeah.
running on your beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but like, I also haven't seen any response be like, if you did or did not, we're addressing that, like if you worked for it or not, and also being like, yes, this is horrible rhetoric, and I
Yeah.
don't support this. Which I feel
Yeah.
like is the least you would do if if there's such a big accusation that you are, a Democrat Party, Democratic Party operative, and you
A
just do
lot of
what you're told.
a lot of people feel like if they don't say anything about it, it'll just go away. And a lot of people are advised to do that. That if they say something about it, it'll call more attention to it. And I
Yeah, I mean
think,
that's how you can tell the bought off politicians. Like that's the thing.
yeah,
That's the least thing I like about this one candidate is, she's real vague on like the what happened in Venezuela and the war in
yeah,
Iran
well,
and with this. And it's like if I want to vote for you, I want to know that you're going to go into Congress and you're going to
yeah,
vote across the aisle with Thomas Massey and you're going to try to end this stuff. I don't want this
yeah,
vague like, oh, party line statement that's safe. Like
yeah.
I don't know if we've learned this. I don't know if you saw Donald Trump got elected twice. Like
And because
like
he's a
people
straight
want to
shooter,
hear
at least. I mean,
people.
he
Yeah,
lies, but he says what he means. I think he means what he says when he says it. Even if
yeah,
what he means is to convince you of a falsity, like he's aggressive and bold and not afraid to say stuff, and people are tired of this smarmy beating around the bush nonsense.
yeah. I mean, I feel like as a candidate that wants to win over more than just Democrats, go lean harder into the anti-war, the don't take APAC money. Stand on that as
Yes.
a platform. Like instead of like everything I've seen, like I'm like I can't, I don't like Derek Van Orden at all either. But
Hmm.
like you're just a different flavor.
Yeah.
Like cool, like he's red, you're blue. Like you guys are probably gonna vote 90% of the same stuff in the House. You're gonna differentiate on Medicare for all. That's about it. I just don't believe anything at this point because you just are towing the party line and you're not.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's authentic. And I think right now is the time for people to be authentic.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's really easy to distance yourself from like a company that openly supports assassinations
Yeah.
for
I
political
think
gain.
that's a
Like,
reasonable thing to ask of people. Distance yourself from a company that openly calls for assassinations. Like let's not be okay with that.
yeah,
Um,
the idea of celebrating a death because of them being on the other political side than you is disgusting. And I don't want harm for anybody.
yeah.
And my wife puts it like the greatest. Like, all right, so like your party didn't get into office, but as a whole in this country, we should want our president to be successful.
Yeah.
So and it's where we're so polarized, like to the point now where yeah, just open social media, like cool, like we're gonna party for an assassination, like two, like the post was like, like our brothers or sisters in the Democratic Party need to work, get better aim. where it's like, come on.
Yeah. Yes. Like I said, those are things that you say in private at your worst when you're
Yeah,
grumbling about stuff. The same way you talk about wanting to like kick somebody's ass down the street. You say
yeah,
that when you know it's not actually going to incite any violence or encourage others to violence. It's when you're just grumbling to yourself.
yep, and yeah. It's just you don't go on Facebook, be like, you know what, I'm going to
No.
type this out and share it to the world.
No.
Like,
No.
what are we doing?
No. That's not that's something you keep to yourself.
So yeah,
Okay.
so that's my political or local slash national current event that really ground my gears this week.
Nice. So do you think it was a real, does it matter to you? Do you think it was a real assassination attempt?
Like I feel like it could go both ways.
I
Like
do too.
the
I'm on
government
the, I
hasn't given
kind of
us
think,
any trust. Dude's got three first names. Like that's like the first flag of it being fake. It's always the
yeah,
three first names. Like that's
yeah,
suspicious.
yeah. I saw that. That's funny.
Like
Who are the other ones that have killed people? Lee Harvey Oswald. Uh,
yeah, I guess
yeah,
Timothy McVeigh only has the two. I don't know if they always said his middle name.
I think they did sometimes. Timothy McVeigh. Yeah, there's been some others. Oh, what was
But
his
it's always
the guy who killed Lincoln? What was his name?
oh God, why am I blanking on it?
John Wilkes Booth. John Wilkes
Yeah,
Booth. Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, it's always first, middle, and last. Like nobody ever refers to people with their middle name.
It was just me, Martha Jean.
Yeah, I mean it's very yeah.
It's really unless you're in the South, yeah, then it's less common.
Well, and if
Um,
all of a sudden you end up arrested or 86 for some political
I
violence, like
know.
she got MK Ultra. Don't believe
Right,
it.
right. Yeah, it's a little scary. Um, so I'm on the team of I don't believe it was completely random. I don't necessarily know if I think that the guy himself was in on anything. And like with the one in Pennsylvania, it was in Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
I still think I think there was some staging there, but I don't necessarily think the shooter was in on the staging. I just think that with as much of a surveillance state as we have, they should have known stuff was going on and had better security.
Yeah.
And I think there's a potential that it was allowed to happen, so that
I
for
mean,
political gain.
the
And
government, like the fact that the FBI, after Donald Trump takes office, completely drops the case is very questionable.
very, yes, yes.
Like what? Like somebody apparently got so close that it took part of your ear. You
Mm-hmm.
think you want some answers, and they're like, "Yeah,
Right.
nope, nope, nope. We figured it out." I mean, the idea that this guy's like apartment was totally scrubbed. There's no physical evidence of
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, he's what 19 or 20, no internet footprint at all, which was
Yeah.
found to be false. Like, I'm sure you're not a big Tucker Carlson fan. I never followed him much. His new podcasts are a lot better than what was on Fox, and he
I've
interviews
heard
interesting
clips of
people.
him because people are taking his clips and talking about him
Yeah,
more,
but
partly
he
because they
did
think he's gonna,
he
yeah, go ahead.
did he hired private investigators to dive into the whole Butler shooting incident, and they were able
Ah,
to dig up like it's worth going to listen. It's on You can go on Spotify, it's on his podcast channel. But like so it's just an episode just about the Butler assassination attempt.
that's
And
interesting.
everything the government said, they're just lying because he was able to have people scrape the internet and find footprints
Mm-hmm.
where our government's like, yeah, there's just nothing. He just didn't do anything on the internet, and this came out of nowhere. Kid was in like a BlackRock commercial. Like,
That
yeah,
is weird.
and then he's shot dead and just cremated quickly.
Yeah.
Like, like whatever they're saying isn't the truth. Whether or not it was staged or they want to cover up
Hmm.
incompetence, I feel like both are extremely likely.
Yeah.
Again, I have no resistance to think that the government is completely incompetent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but either way, they're lying. They're provably lying. They're not telling us the truth.
No.
Like I think that's the thing to gain from it. Like all of these things,
Yeah. And it,
I'll tell you, like the Charlie Kirk thing. Whether or not feelings on Charlie Kirk, like we're not getting a true story.
no.
Like the fairy tale that they're telling us didn't happen.
Mm-mm.
No fucking way in hell.
No.
Like this guy isn't assembling and disassembling this gun multiple fucking times.
No.
It's been proven that you can't. I think it's been pretty solidly proven that a 30-06 couldn't would have done so much more damage than what we saw. And I
Hmm.
accidentally watched the actual video, which wasn't fun because it's not fun to ever see
I
anybody's
accidentally
neck
saw it
blow
too. I
out.
didn't want to see it, and then I was scrolling Reddit, and then and
Yeah,
I'm like, oh
same
great, now
same
that's in
thing
my
with
head.
me. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was like, I didn't want to see that. I just wanted to see some of the other footage. I didn't want to see the up close.
No, no.
But I think it's been clearly proven there's no way 30-06 did that. Plus,
Hmm.
recently, dude's defense has made public that the government has no casings to the bolt. Like nothing matches that rifle.
I heard that too, that nothing matches.
Hmm. And then I mean, just and something like all of like after it's disassembled in his backpack, he climbs down a fucking building, escapes, goes into the woods that's owned by Palantir,
Yeah.
assembles the gun without the tool that he apparently left on the roof, and wraps it in a towel and leaves it there. Like, why?
Hmm.
This doesn't
Yeah.
make it like this fairy tale that we're being told is complete bullshit.
And then he conveniently like messaged his secret lover about it, which
With a full, oddly worded, not a way any
is so
20-year-old talks,
freaking weird.
and just spills every detail that the FBI would need to convict him.
That's so
Just, just,
weird.
just conveniently.
Uh-huh. I don't believe it. So that's kind of the same reason why I don't fully believe in this one, particularly the complete lack of security. Like Trump is fairly paranoid.
This
Um,
is the first correspondence dinner he's ever gone to, also. He
when
didn't go, he didn't go to any of them during his first term.
I yeah, which is also really suspect.
Yeah.
Um,
Like I said, I'm not trying to ride the conspiracy train, but I also do enjoy thinking about the conspiracy train.
well, everyone who talks about this has to say, I'm not into conspiracies,
Oh no,
but
I'm super into conspiracies.
yeah,
I love them. That's why I do try to separate. Like
they're very fun.
I'm gonna read all about the conspiracy. I'm gonna look at it, but I'm also gonna look at it from the other side too, of like how this could just not be the conspiracy until there's an overwhelming amount of evidence.
Yeah.
Which like
Well,
that's what I said. Like I feel with all of these, like at minimum it's just tons of just shameful amounts of oversight
yeah.
and and also the government is definitely lying.
Yes.
Like
Yes. And it's a big deal when you can't trust the government not to lie. Like that is truly a big deal.
yeah, I mean we still don't have the information about JFK.
Hmm.
So like yeah, like we don't need to take anything on face value from them. At least until the aliens land.
I'm looking forward to the aliens. I was just thinking about the JFK thing. Like, isn't it kind of known now that the FBI killed him? Like, don't isn't that like people
I think
think CIA,
CIA
yeah.
is the culprit. Yeah, but there's still no. I mean, no, we're never gonna get the smoking gun, but I don't think anybody believes the bullshit anymore.
No, no. They wasted our goodwill.
Yeah,
So my event, I'm glad you picked that one because I would have picked that one. My event, my news this week. Oh, for my news this week, I'll tell you what I've been listening to. I think I sent it to you. Did I send you a link to a podcast called Master Plan?
Yes, I almost finished the first episode of the second season.
Oh, did you start in the second season?
Yeah, because I wanted to start so close to like where it's topical.
Oh, so
Yes.
I started on the first season. I recommend the first season because the whole thing is just talking about things that happened far enough in the past. Um, and they kind of set a stage, but the podcast talks a lot about um why all the changes that happen in our government. So going back to like we've talked about the erosion of rights, that the ignoring the Constitution, blah blah blah. It talks about how did we get to a point where everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people feel like we have an oligarchy and that it's the haves against the have-nots more so than it has been in a really long time. How did we get to a point where there's like immense corporate capture of the political mechanisms in our country? And they go back in time and they kind of say this is what happened, these are the laws that passed, these are the people who were put on the Supreme Court, this is how we got there. And a lot of it's called the whole, I guess the whole thing is called Master Plan, but the whole first season they're talking about some specific, what they keep referring to as master planners, who were folks aligned with the Republican Party, but very much were in this free market corporate pro-capitalist, but to the
So I,
point.
I just want to say one thing when you say something like that.
Mhm.
Free market and corporate capitalism are different things. Like the
Yes, I
corporate
know. They
capture
use
of
free
our
market.
government, yeah,
Yeah.
but the corporate
I
capture of our government is not capitalism. So
I totally agree with you, but they call it capitalism. That's part of what is so screwy about these people. Like they don't believe what they say, but they're willing to say and do a lot of things that end up getting the end result that they want. So that's one of the things that I was talking about, where they co-opted libertarians by using the term free market, blah blah blah. They went after socialists hardcore. Um, and but it's all about, I think you really enjoy listening to it, and I'm not finished with the first season. I don't think I am, but it it just kind of sets up the framework for how we got here. Like I was in a city council meeting on Monday, and some they were doing a proclamation. The mayor does these proclamations where he says, "Oh, it's Child Abuse Awareness Month. Oh, it's Motorcycle Safety Month, whatever." And he had some motorcyclists come in to accept the award or whatever it is that he has for the Motorcycle Safety Month. And the motorcyclist was like, "I'm so glad we're being recognized as participants in this economy." And those weren't his exact words. I can find them because
uh,
we get transcripts and stuff. But it was essentially that, like we participate in the market, we exchange money here, but they matter not because they are your neighbors living in the same place that you live and riding the same roads that you ride. It was about our value as consumers, not even producers, our value as consumers. And there were several things that happened in a short time during the meeting that were just kind of, I don't know if I'm hypersensitive to it or if it was particularly egregious at this meeting, but just equating human value with how much capital they have and can offer the world. And capital, I mean money, cash. Um, and it's really gross to me. you know, it's not fun. So that's my thought, I guess, is I think that's a really good podcast. And I wish I had listened to it earlier because I feel like they do a good job of explaining some really complex things. I've accidentally listened to a couple of parts of season 2 because I have it the way my podcast reader is, and
Uh,
it sounds like it still is doing the same thing, like where they spend a lot of time explaining stuff that's really
yeah, so far, and like I said, I didn't finish the episode. I started at that because it's like talking about kings, no kings protest.
Oh,
So,
neat. Yeah.
so second season starts really topical for what we've been talking about.
Cool.
I am gonna say so far, I listened about three-quarters of it,
Hmm.
and the only thing is it has a bias.
Oh, definitely. It definitely
Like it's
does.
definitely like it's like they snuck in one little clip of like Obama saying how he was going to use executive power, but that like is a tiny little couple second clip. Other than that, they're kind of just smearing it all on Republicans, and that's just not factual, and I don't think it's helpful to be like, yeah, it's just for Republicans that have done this and only them, and Democrats are clean.
I would like to for you to listen to the first one because I didn't come away with the idea that the Democrats were clean, but I did come away with the idea that a lot of this specific plan that has been executed was was designed by the right. Um,
I just
the
think
one
that's a cute, fantastical belief, honestly,
I don't
because
know. I don't
because
know.
because
I'm
the
not
people in
saying that
power.
the left doesn't have its own weird machinations, but what they're talking about specifically is a specific way of dealing with the world that, according to documentation, according to records, it stemmed from the right.
Yeah, but if you don't bring up any things that Democrat presidents did, then you're not going to have to answer to like you just if you don't bring up other proof, like you don't know, like yeah, they're bringing up tons of evidence. I don't think they're wrong,
True. I think
but
they do end up talking, they talk a little bit about what Clinton did. Um, but a lot of the stuff that they were talking about was like 90s and down, from the 70s to
oh yeah,
70s,
but I mean, like
80s.
to like act like during World War II, our president didn't do lots of things that were not constitutional and were purposely
Hmm.
made to get us into the war. To act king like is also like you can't just leave out parts. And I think it does paint at least like I said, only first it might I'm not saying they won't change my mind as I listen, like if they go deeper, but like so far it is kind of really just painting one side. And the thing is, like these are the people in power. I don't think it at that point matters Republican or Democrat.
Well, I think it's definitely about a specific group of people from a specific political demographic and what they've done. It is specifically about that. It's not.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just those people, I guess. Is like I don't think you're painting. I don't think the full picture is getting painted.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
And I mean I'm gonna keep listening to it because it is interesting. I think there's a lot of good stuff in it, but I can there's a clear bias. Like
Hmm.
because like anybody that's out in these upper echelons of power, like Republican, Democrat doesn't really matter. It's about that upper echelon of power. Like I think, I mean, like all of the leaders have done things and passed bills to get us to the point that we are at. And I don't think you can blame one party for it.
I think at times you can. For example, McCarthyism was from the right. I'm about to have
Yeah,
to leave. I
Wisconsin.
need to leave.
McCarthy's
Um,
from Wisconsin.
so if we were talking about something
Isn't
that
McCarthy,
was
isn't that communism stuff?
McCarthy was the guy that did all the witch trials going after people for communism.
Yeah.
So he was a Republican and he was very, very, very vehemently anti-socialist. Um, so
I think back in the day, all branches of everybody in the government was anti-socialist, anti-communist. It was
people
a big push. It's
swung that
literally the
way.
whole Cold War.
people swung that way, but there was also a big point in time where it was extremely common, particularly in if you were an intellectual at all, you probably had some sympathies with socialism and communism. It was just very, very, very common. We're almost at that point now where, well, not really anymore.
There's a huge resurgence of these beliefs that I think are detrimental.
Well, hey, I gotta get going, but
Okay.
yeah, it was fun. It was fun. We got good stuff. And
definitely.
so next time we'll talk about what exactly are we talking about next time?
So next time, I think our next episode I want to do on rights.
Rights. Okay, cool.
So
Rights.
my little definition monologue is what I think the proper definition of rights is.
Okay.
And it's going to explain, and I'll explain like my version of rights, and then like when people say, housing is a right, healthcare is a right, or why I don't think it's a right, and why it fits into and then, so that's kind of my little monologue definition thing. And then I feel like we'll have plenty to talk about then.
Awesome.
Going into discussion.
Yay. All right. Well, that was the show.
All right. Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you tired of paying to lock up nonviolent offenders for decades? Are you sick of a 50-year war on drugs that nobody is winning? Are you uncomfortable with mandatory sentences that take the decision out of a judge's hands? Then we're on the same side. The war on drugs has cost over $1 trillion. It has filled prisons with nonviolent offenders, and by every measure, drugs are more available today than when it started. Prohibition has never worked. Not once. Not ever. So next time a politician calls it tough on crime, ask what exactly has been accomplished. Demand accountability. It's the one thing we can all get behind. Schindler's Gist is brought to you by the simple idea that a policy failing for 50 years deserves an honest conversation. Paid for by people who are frankly a little tired of this.
Hi, it's me again. Before I sign off, I wanted to give you some context on a couple of things we talked about. First, the Wisconsin brewery that we discussed. It's called Minocqua Brewing Company, and it's owned by Kirk Bangstad. Tyler mentioned that Bangstad has been criminally charged with stuff, and here's what we know. He was arrested in October 2024 on 2 counts of criminal defamation over a photoshopped image of the Lakeland Times publisher and general manager. A judge dismissed those charges last August on lack of probable cause. He was arrested again in June 2025 for harassment, disorderly conduct, and bail jumping after he and customers hurled profanities at that same publisher from outside his brewery. In April, the harassment and bail jumping charges were dropped, and he was convicted of disorderly conduct on a no contest plea. He's also been interviewed by the FBI and the Secret Service over his recent posts about Donald Trump, but those interviews haven't led to charges. We talked about a possible connection between Bangstad and the Democrat running against the Republican congressman in Tyler's district. The relationship is a little bit different than what I think we said. Rebecca Cook, who is running against the Republican Derek Van Orden in Wisconsin's 3rd district, previously worked as a campaign operative and fundraiser for Bangstad. And Bangstad also ran for the Wisconsin State Assembly in 2020, and in early May, 2 days after the FBI visit, he announced a run for Wisconsin governor in the Democratic primary. Moving on to Charlie Kirk. The defense court filing that we discussed was filed on March 27th and cites an ATF report saying that the Bureau was unable to identify the bullet recovered at autopsy as having been fired from the rifle tied to Tyler Robinson. So basically they said it was technically inconclusive. And so that's more nuanced than what we really stated. So that means they couldn't say the bullet matched, and they couldn't rule it out either. Prosecutors say that Robinson's DNA was found on the trigger, the rifle, the spent casing, 2 out of 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel the rifle was wrapped in. But the state accused the defense of misrepresenting the ATF report. The preliminary hearing was pushed from May 18th to July 6th through 10th, so it'll be after the 4th of July this year that we have any more real updates. We also talked about the woods where the rifle was found being connected to Palantir. Here's what I found when I dug around. The property near the recovery point appears to be owned by an entity called 683 Properties LLC, so that's 683 Properties LLC. There is a hedge fund called 683 Capital that holds Palantir stock, but that is not the same as Palantir owning the land. So there is a connection, but it's maybe not straightforward, and it's not exactly what we said it was. On the Butler shooting, there were several things we discussed that it could come across as conspiracy theories, but they're actually documented, and here's evidence about them. Thomas Crook's body, and he was the shooter, Thomas Crook, was cremated about 10 days after the shooting. And even Republican Congressman Clay Higgins criticized that publicly as obstruction of justice. The FBI investigation officially closed in November 2025 with no determined motive. Tucker Carlson aired an investigation that month claiming that Crooks had more of an online footprint than the FBI initially indicated, and Republican task force members that included Congressman Pat Fallon say the Bureau stonewalled their inquiry. So the cause and effect framing is more contested, but the underlying details are accurate. Also, I think it's just like insane that we're citing Tucker Carlson as doing actual investigative journalism. It blows my mind. Now about the Comey Instagram post. That's the one that says 8647 in seashells that he apparently came across, didn't even write himself. The 47 refers to Donald Trump being the 47th president. 86 is restaurant slang for getting rid of something. It has picked up, and I think this is very recent, some informal use meaning to eliminate someone, but it's not, from what I can tell, a formal police code for murder. And the Supreme Court case I was half remembering is Watts versus United States from 1969, where a man at an anti-war rally said that if drafted, he wanted LBJ in his rifle sights. That was the president, Lyndon B. Johnson, in his rifle sights. And the court ruled that political hyperbole isn't a true threat. Speaking of threats and free speech, let's talk about free speech in Europe. The whole picture of free speech in Europe is far more nuanced than we got into. European countries do have constitutional free expression protections like Germany's Basic Law Article 5 or the European Convention on Human Rights Article 10. They do have broader carve-outs than we do, especially around hate speech, Holocaust denial, and incitement. The difference is one of scope, not presence or existence. So the scope is different, but they do have these laws similar to ours. We also talked a little bit about a UK smoking ban. The Tobacco and Vapes Act got royal assent on April 29th, which was one day before we recorded. The generational ban applies to anyone born on or after January 1st, 2009. It penalizes retailers, not buyers, so the people purchasing are not punished for using tobacco at any age. It's a tobacco sales ban for that generation. Vapes and nicotine pouches are regulated separately, so the law is more complicated and layered than how we described it. Now about Nazism and socialism. This was the longest exchange Tyler and I had. And, we clearly had disagreements about it. Here is what I can tell about what the mainstream historical view is. For listeners who want the full picture, It's that the socialist in the Nazi party name functioned as populist recruitment label, and that the regime crushed actual socialists, communists, and independent trade unions. In fact, you know, that famous poem that says, first they came for the socialists. A lot of people hated socialists. They were a fringe group in most communities around the time, and they were an easy target. And one of the things that the poem is about is that, hey, they came for the socialists first, and nobody gave a fuck about the socialists, so nobody cared. But Nazis did come for the actual socialists who were actually socialists, not in just name only. They also went after all these other groups, like I said, and some of the earliest concentration camp prisoners were a variety of political leftists, just all kinds of different leftists. So to me, if a party is going after supposed enemies and all those enemies are on one side of the spectrum, like the radical left, then that means that the people who are going after them are probably all on the other side of the spectrum and are the radical right. And that would not be truly socialist. The regime privatized a number of state-owned firms in the mid-1930s, which is documented in peer-reviewed economic history literature. And you can, go read about that and find out more about it. Historians generally describe the Nazi economy as a war or command economy, or authoritarian capitalism, rather than socialism. And people can disagree with that consensus, like, you can interpret it different ways, but listeners should know what that consensus is. On marijuana rescheduling, a DEA final order moved FDA-approved marijuana drug products and state medical license marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, which was effective April 28th, 2 days before we recorded. It followed Trump's executive order. God, this is a long number for an executive order, just shows how many there are. 14,370 from December. And it's a narrow rescheduling, not full legalization. The hemp loophole was closed by the Continuing Appropriations Act of 2026, which was the funding bill that ended last November's government shutdown. And maybe we need to talk about that another time, because I've heard that really has messed with a lot of hemp-related businesses that popped up when that loophole was strong. There are a couple other things I want to touch on. The divers we discussed are from the 2022 Paria diving disaster at the Paria Fuel Trading Company facility in Trinidad and Tobago. 5 divers were pulled into a 30-inch pipeline, and 4 divers died. The survivor was named Christopher Boudrum, and he crawled through the pipe for nearly 3 hours before being pulled out. Joseph McCarthy was a U.S. Senator from Wisconsin. He was the asshole that did the whole McCarthyism stuff. That's where McCarthy comes from. McCarthyism is because of Joseph McCarthy being an asshole. Being an asshole in the way Joseph McCarthy is means you are McCarthy-ish, I guess? I don't know. And the U.S. closed the gold window in August 1971. So that's all the corrections, clarifications that I wanted to touch on. Thanks for listening to all of them if you are still here. And next week's episode, if I can get it out in a week, which I think I can this time, is going to be more deep on rights. And I'm excited to let y'all hear it. So don't miss out, and take good care of yourself. And I hope you go out and learn something new. If not from this podcast, from somewhere else. Thanks, and have a good day.